People coming in, but I'll have to start to stay on time. So this topic today, I really want to talk about really a step change or a gear change in the area of data governance, which is really overdue, I think, for most organizations. So what I want to talk about is really look at the current problems that we have with data governance today, and why I think personally that old approaches to this are broken. They're not really delivering at a pace that we need in order to serve the AI era. So I want to then look at, well, what are the requirements that we really need to have in place to dramatically improve our approaches to this, using AI and automation in order to assist us to do a much better job more rapidly. I want to look at the need for an integrated and unified active data governance platform, and why certain technologies need to come together in terms of data catalogs and data intelligence and observability and agents in order to help tackle this problem, and also to understand really why AI agents are needed in order to help with this. But we need to know if we're making improvements, and so why we need metrics associated with that, and something called an action framework, a data governance action framework, so that we can monitor if we're making progress in the overall health and security of our data, to keep it governed, to support the agentic era that's unfolding before us, and what we need to do to implement that. So let's take a look at this. So for most organizations today, we are on a journey of producing a number of artifacts, including producing data that's AI ready and ready for consumption, and producing machine learning models, producing BI reports, producing AI agents, which are being deployed in different parts of the business in order to help optimize that and make it more automated, make it more productive, and make it smarter. But all of the things that we're building are fundamentally anchored on the premise that the data is okay. And if the data is okay, we cannot confidently move forward. So what makes it okay? Of course, it's data governance, let alone the AI governance era, which is not a topic I'm going to discuss here. But just on data governance, it's got to be rock solid. And so, there are problems in the way of progress here. If, for example, we are now dealing with a huge amount of data complexity. Data is in a distributed data estate. It's in multiple software as a service applications that aren't even on public clouds. They're in the data centers of those vendors. There's multiple clouds with multiple types of data stores. There's on-premises with multiple types of data stores. And we've got data streaming in from the edge. And we're expected to govern all of this. And data governance is way beyond data quality, it's privacy, it's access security, it's retention, it's sharing, it's loss prevention, all of it. And we are still reliant on a whole bunch of administrators doing the right thing across all of these different data stores across a distributed data estate, in the hope that we're going to keep everybody synced and the right policies are being implemented everywhere for the same data if it exists in multiple places. And so we're still far too manual here. No question that data catalogs are fundamentally critical to data governance today, but we're still dealing with companies who've now got multiple catalogs. How many of you got more than one catalog? Several hands going up. That confuses the problem. But obviously one of the jobs of data catalogs is to automatically discover your data and be able to know what's out there. Automatic discovery, automatic classification to know what sensitive data is, even automatic data quality profiling and cataloging it. But there are still some blind spots. They don't do very well in understanding data and software as a service apps. We also don't do very well in understanding unstructured content, but it's getting better. But also, catalogs are not enough, because if you're going to even store the policies centrally, even if people around the business have created those policies, enforcing the policies is the issue. It's not just defining it, it's enforcing it across a distributed data estate, especially when there's no standards to ship policies to multiple technologies to do the enforcement. So this requires multiple technologies. even today. One thing is clear. If you're thinking data governance is just data quality, way off track. I mean, that a long time ago, we've moved beyond that. It used to be that way, and we thought that that was just unstructured data. Today, data governance is all of these disciplines. It's on structured, it's on semi-structured, like XML or Avro or JSON, and it's also on unstructured data that we have to be able to take care of this. And we have to do all of these disciplines across this distributed data estate in order to ensure that the data that we're trying to make available is well governed and secure. And the problem is that up until now, what we're doing is this. We're buying point tools, maybe a data quality tool over here, a data observability tool over there, another tool for privacy, but then we've got a catalog, then we've got an access security tooling as well. And we've got various different tools and various different vendors, each with their own metadata store. And the reason why this is a problem is we assume we can snap these together and they're just going to work together and share metadata. That would be 100% incorrect. All those question marks are there to represent the fact that you can't assume you can share metadata between best-of-breed tools because there's no standard. There is no standard. And yesterday on the Great Data Debate, I asked all the vendors again, are you going to support a standard? They said, we don't see one occurring. 10 years I've asked that question, 10 years. So if you're waiting on a standard, don't hold your breath. So you have to realize that this is an issue caused by the fact that there is no industry standards to share metadata between tools, so it forces you to do rework. And I personally think we have to say, this is not going to work for the AI era at the pace of change that we're going to move for. So we need a total rethink around this whole problem. So what are the requirements for the AI era if we're going to get into that? And what is it we need to be able to do? First of all of these disciplines need to get unified on a common platform and share the metadata because it's a common platform. Secondly, has to be active data governance, continuous, not, well, let's do some checks overnight. This is always on data governance, constantly looking out for conditions occurring and incidents occurring across a distributed data estate. We're way beyond the point where humans can do this on their own. The level of data complexity is so far beyond human capability that you have to recognize we need help. And the help comes in the form of automation, AI automation, and automatic detection using AI to help us solve this problem. So this is a combination of human data stewards and digital data stewards, a digital workforce for data governance. And so we need data governance AI agents. These are our data governance workforce that are on the lookout for incidents right across our distributed data estate. And if there's any issues we want to know about them, it could end up in our inbox. And even if they do end up in our inbox, we want an assistant there as well in order to help us take actions to correct those issues and deal with those incidents to keep our data well governed. So there's a whole slew of requirements here. I need common definitions to understand the meaning of data. I need automatic data discovery. We can get that already with data catalogs, that's okay. I need automatic sensitive data detection using machine learning models in a catalog. That's already available and has been for some time out of the box. So we can get that. We can do automatic data classification out of the box for different levels of confidentiality and retention. So that's available today. Metadata lineage in a catalog is available today. So, we got a lot of these things we can put checkboxes against. And of course, you need people and processes to govern data. And we need orchestration or workflows to be able to organize a sequence of actions to make sure that the governance action is correct and done in an done in a standard way across your organization. And of course, you need policies, different policies for different kinds of things. Data quality validation rules, for example. Data privacy masking policies and encryption policies. Data access security policies. They're all policies associated with different aspects of governing data. And we need to be able to enforce those across those distributed data platforms, and we need to be able to observe and look for any incidents going on and cause actions on the back of it in order to deal with those incidents as we go along. So if you look at the capabilities needed to govern data, we need the capabilities to understand your distributed data estate and what you're dealing with in terms of governing, and we need the capabilities to govern it. But you can't govern data unless you understand what you've got. And so that's why we need both of these. And obviously the capabilities mean enforcing the policies and having the process in place to make sure everything's consistent. And also, the thing that we really need for the AI era is continuous data governance, continuous observability, on the lookout for incidents that can cause us issues with respect to our data, and being able to flag up those incidents and allow us to move and go forward with them. And we need agents here to help us monitor all of that. And we need to bring things together. For example, the catalog, as I said, is already central to the whole data governance problem. We can use it to automatically discover, automatically map data to glossaries. We can use it to automatically classify data and detect sensitive data across all of those data stores without having to do it manually. We can do automatic data quality profiling. Get all that out of the box today, and we can put policies in the catalog to say how to govern certain data. But then we need the continuous bit. We need the observability to be on the lookout for events that would trigger conditions that would flag an issue with respect to data governance, whether it's a data quality issue, a privacy issue, an access security issue, a retention issue. But we need that observability software to know what the policies are and to know what the measures are in order to track whether this is a serious issue or not. And anything that it detects, it needs to flag back into the catalog, and also drive alerts, drive recommendations to humans to say, is an issue here, here's the recommended action, or even take completely automated actions. And we need a triage agent, because there's going to be lots of incidents, and we need to make sure that we can understand the severity of those incidents, rank them all in priority so that we deal with the most severe ones first, and then we work our way down that list. So we need automatic triage. We don't need humans to do that. There's going to be so many issues running in an AI era that we just need it to be automated. And all of the actions need to be recorded so that we can see if we're progressing in improving the overall health and security of your data across a distributed data estate. And if you collect all of that, then you can report on it. And you say, well, how are we doing? Is this improving? Is data quality measures improving? Are privacy measures improving? Are security measures are improving? Or are they going the other way, in which case we need to pay attention to that. Also, we need to understand the kind of AI assistance we need. So I said before, we have multiple tools. We'd like to replace that with a unified AI-powered data governance platform. And there's several vendors on the exhibition floor pushing this right now, no question. But as you can see here, data quality, access security, privacy, retention, sharing, usage, all in the one platform, all on shared metadata with a common catalog, all with a common knowledge graph and common services, so that we scan the data once for all of those disciplines and are able to detect all of these issues. And it's got to be agentic. We are agents to help us create policies quicker, to help monitor things, to help scan things and flag issues on a continuous basis. This is already starting to appear, by the way, just to pick some random examples. I've got no allegiance to any of the vendors I'm showing you here, but this is an example of Elation, which already has a data quality AI agent. As you can see, there's a Copilot down the right-hand side. You can talk to it and tell it to detect issues and say, please generate the data quality validation rules for the issues you've detected, and it'll go and generate them for you, ask you, is these okay? Can you approve them? And if they are, it'll put them into effect. And so we're using conversation, natural language conversation, perhaps with a data governance data steward, able to use AI to quickly get stuff implemented in order to deal with data quality issues. We need automatic discovery, we need glossary, we need automatic data classification, the governance policies in the catalog, we need orchestration, and we need metrics. And by the way, if you look hard enough out there, this isn't stuff you should be waiting on or hoping to find a year from now or towards the end of the year. This is here now. It's here now in a lot of the software that's out there today. But the big difference is we need to plug in AI observability into this. In addition, we got to get health metrics. How do you know if you're improving your governance with all this stuff? We've got to know that it's improving, and we need measures. We need to measure our quality and say, are those controls improving or not? Are the controls that are measuring privacy improving or not? What about access security? What about retention? Are these metrics going in the right direction or not? And if you don't even know what the metrics are, then we're in trouble. And of course, we want all of the controls to be in a common place, and they'll have thresholds. If you're above a threshold, you might be healthy. If you're below the threshold, you might be not healthy, or there might be different levels of unhealthiness all the way down to seriously critical problems if you drop below a certain threshold. But we need to know what those thresholds are. You have to define them. Examples of metrics: percentage of data sources that have been discovered and cataloged, or not discovered and cataloged. The percentage of physical data assets with a description. Maybe you've scanned a lot of them, but none of them have got any descriptions. You'd like AI to go generate those descriptions for you. What about the percentage of terms with no corresponding mapping in the business glossary? That's an issue. What about the percentage of data assets in a data source with no data quality validation rules? These are helping us to identify where the issues are so that we can take action to resolve those things and start to improve those overall scores. So there's a whole range of metrics that you can create here, and several vendors coming out of the box with a bunch of example metrics that you can start to use. And then when we have to get serious about what I would call a data governance action framework. What we're trying to move towards is not passive data governance that we've had in the past, but continuous, always on data governance. But that means you need to know, what are you monitoring? Why are you monitoring it? What happens if you detect certain incidents? What should the actions be? We need to know a whole bunch of other things around it. For example, are these actions associated with a particular regulation in a particular jurisdiction? But the same data could exist in a different jurisdiction, in which case the policies need to take action to abide by the laws of a different jurisdiction, because your organization could have a global footprint and you need to comply with multiple different legislations. We need the ability to define our policies and rules, and then if we detect conditions, there are data governance tasks that need to be performed to correct those incidents, and even entire data governance processes, so that you are confident that within your organization, if this condition occurs, you have an enterprise-wide standard process to deal with it and sort it out, so that the behavior of taking an action to keep data governed is consistent every time that incident occurs. So there's a whole number of things to think about here. Now you could say, well, we need scores on every one of these disciplines, like how are we doing out of 100 on data quality or for data privacy, but that's kind of looking at all your data. And you kind of think, is that trying to boil the ocean? Probably it is. I think a more focused approach might be to say, well, what are the scores of all of these things for a data product? For example, what's the data quality score for customer? What's the data privacy score for sensitive data associated with customer? What's the access security scores associated with how we're governing access to customer data? What about retention of customer data? What about sharing of customer data? And then we put a business lens on it. It's not what's the score of data quality across their entire distributed data estate. It's just for customer data. Then you could do the same for supplier data. Then you could do the same for orders data. So you can start to get systematic about this and really go after this problem piece by piece. And of course, you can set thresholds around this to say what's healthy. But the action framework is really about, once you've created that policy or policies, then we can monitor events to see whether or not any conditions are occurring that would violate those policies. We can trigger that a condition's been detected. We then need AI to triage that and say, how severe is that? Can we reorder the number of these incidents into the most severe first so that we can deal with them? And then we can trigger alerts and recommendations if necessary for humans to deal with, or alternatively even take automated actions. So we need agents. We need the ability to know what the policies are in the catalog. We need to know what all the sensitive data is in the catalog, but we also need to monitor events. We need to know what events to monitor, and then agents on the lookout for those issues. And when they detect an issue, then what we want to be able to then do is triage it. Now, we don't want humans doing that. We want an agent doing that, which is kind of saying, well, I'm detecting all of these incidents, but some of them are minor, and some of them are absolutely critical. And so we need them ranked so that we can deal with them in the right order and be able to sort that problem out. And we're already seeing this. You know, for example, Microsoft with Purview on data loss prevention and insider risk management triage agent. You know, you can already see it's looking on data loss prevention queue. It's changing the order of the queue to deal with the most severe incidents first, so that you're able to act quickly and stay on top of the most severe issues. We also need the ability to have our policies and rules defined, you know, in a central place. That doesn't mean they're defined by people who are in a central location. It means people around the organization can participate in defining policies, but we'd like them stored in a common place, and we would like them attached to things like classification labels, and we'd like to group them. For example, could you group a set of policies and say this group of policies is associated with this customer data product, or this group of policies is associated with this orders data product, or with this supplier data product. And so that it doesn't matter where that data is on your distributed data estate, those policies apply everywhere. Or you could attach a group of policies to a label. So any data that's labeled as personally identifiable is governed by that group of policies anywhere that data is located across your distributed data estate, so that you can create the policies once, apply them to a label, and the label's already attached to many pieces of data across your distributed data estate, and you instantly get governance across all of those data stores by just attaching the policy group to the label. And already we're even seeing AI agents recommending the policies. Here again, you can see Microsoft data quality rules being automatically suggested by the agents, having looked at the data, it's detecting issues and recommending that these rules need to be created in order to stay on top of the data quality problem. Once we have these policies created, we need events and we need actions. Well, events and conditions and actions. Events are things like a new data source got registered. So we then need to understand what's in there, are there any issues in there, and then we can go forward and start to govern it. Or it might be that another example of an event is that, you know, legal department issued a legal hold. That's an event that causes issues around retention, where you have to hold the data even if the retention period has expired because there's a lawsuit in play. You know, there's all kinds of conditions like, or events like this that we need to say, have you got an inventory of those in your organization? Make one, make an inventory of them. And then what are the conditions? If you detect these events, what kind of governance condition is it? And based upon the governance condition, what's the action? Then you can say, okay, when these events occur representing this condition, these are the actions we're going to take in order to keep the data governed. That's what a data governance action framework should be doing. But all of these things don't come out of the box. Your job as data governance professionals is to say, what are the events we want to monitor? What are the conditions? And what are the actions that we need to take so that we consistently govern data across our distributed data estate? And some of those actions could be automatic. Some of them may have to refer to humans, to people, so people, it goes in their inbox and then they have to deal with it. Then we want to monitor. It's back to observability again, continuous observability on the data to be able to monitor and detect conditions, and when those conditions occur, drive alerts, drive recommendations to humans to take action or decide not to take action. It's up to them in order to deal with these severe issues and keep the data governed. or alternatively, drive totally automated actions if we're confident enough that that can be done automatically for us using AI and triggering processes that will carry out an action in a consistent way. And all kinds of things can trigger an action. You know, it could be somebody changed a policy. That could trigger an action because you then have to go back and check all of those policies and see if everything's okay. It could be that a threshold has been exceeded, which could trigger actions. I mean, so there's a number of things to think about here, and I appreciate I'm going through this rather rapidly in a very short 30-minute presentation. And if it does come to humans, then some of those are high priority, which hopefully have been triaged by AI. Some of them are medium, some of them are low. And obviously we want to monitor whether the humans took action or not, and we'd actually like to see what's in the inbox. And already we're seeing this. Vendors like Informatica already have inboxes where you can see, a professional can see what they have to deal with in order to solve these data governance issues that are being detected. And then we can start to monitor live pipelines. As all these pipelines are running, we can do continuous observability, we can do automatic machine learning to see if there's any issues in those processing that data, and we can cause automatic actions. So for example, if a pipeline's running, we can continually collect signals from that pipeline, collect all of that as those pipelines are running, and if there's any incidents, we can trigger the incident, flag them up as issues, and we can drive those alerts into the catalog. So if anyone wants to come and look in the catalog, you can see the alerts, you can see the incidents right there. A good example of data quality alerts appearing in the Elation data catalog driven by AI. That's here today. It's not tomorrow, it's here today. But then you can even have a complete, let's say, 1,000-foot view. Here's all the current outstanding incidents. Here's all the people who've got actions assigned to them. Here's how well we're doing to deal with those actions. So we're seeing, you know, people haven't gone on holiday for 3 weeks, and there's an action that's really critical sitting in somebody's inbox. We're able to monitor to see what's going on across our distributed data estate and stay on top of this issue. And then we've got to implement the overall agent. So a good couple of examples here to wrap up the overall presentation. So you've got your catalog, you may be monitoring a live pipeline with observability, looking for events and event detection to see if there's a condition that's occurring. If that occurs, maybe it's that we found data in a data source that's violating data quality violation rules, and then you're going to do some sort of action, either refer it to a human data steward to deal with so it goes in his or her inbox, or it's automatically dealt with by AI to just fix the data automatically. So here's a couple of examples just to end the presentation. Here you can see a data steward talking, this is clued in, this is MDM. I can actually go and just say, in natural language, fix the issues in company data such that we make sure that they're all ISO standard codes. Natural language request from a data steward. So the agent goes away, looks at the data, finds all the issues, comes back, here's all the issues associated with that company data, tells you what they all are, recommends, here's the fixes. So it's automatically recommending the fixes. You don't even have to fix the data. It's telling you, here's what you have to do to fix it. And all you've got to do is say, reject or approve. You just approve it and it's done. I mean, so it's automated. It's speeding us up. It's giving us more productivity to deal with these issues. Another example, again in Elation, where it's automatically detected personal data that's not classified as PII. So it's found data that's just not labeled. And so it's signaled it up and said there's unprotected sensitive data here, you need to do something about it. And so it's giving it to the data steward to decide what to do. So we're getting AI to work for us to help us solve this problem. So to wrap up then, what I would say is, that's a very short whistle-stop tour. There's obviously a lot more going on here than I can cover in 30 minutes. But I would say this, is it's now critical that we solve this for the AI era. We can't have going off building agents on data that we can't trust and is not necessarily secure. We have to be able to deal with that. But because of the complexity with so many different data stores and so much data around, it's beyond human capability. So we really have to deal with the fact that we need AI to help us solve this, to help us be more productive, and to automate a lot of the tasks that we'd have to have done manually without it. And that we need to make sure that we are implementing this for every data governance discipline, and to make it more manageable, do it by data product. Do it by customer, do it for supplier data, do it for orders data, do it for shipments data. But systematically go around and deal with these things that are critical to helping your business operate. So I hope that gives you an idea of what's coming and what's out there today, and hopefully over the coming year that will help you at least tackle the complexities of your data governance problems. So with that, I'd like to say thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, thank you.